Hey everyone, today I wanted to talk a little bit about pocket notebooks and how they can be a huge benefit to your artistic journey. I have embarked on a 5-day tiny sketch challenge in these tiny field notebooks. I'm having so much fun. And if you're interested in joining me on this journey, it's a 5-day sketching challenge, sketching tiny. You can sketch in whatever tiny paper, tiny sketchbook, whatever it is you want. I will include a link to that video as well. My Facebook group is once again open called Creative Flow with Krista Irene. You can search it, Creative Flow with Krista Irene, or I'll leave a link in the description of this video for you to find the Facebook group where we're going to be sharing our drawings and paintings and art journal pages from the 5-day tiny sketchbook challenge. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about these field notebooks or pocket notebooks. They're really, really small. These are Moleskine. I think they're called Moleskine or Moleskine sketchbooks, but they're not sketchbooks, but they're field notebooks. And normally I am lucky enough to have, hold on a second. I'm lucky enough to have this giant sketchbook of the same brand that I have been using to create my art drawings, sketching, and creations in. But I was at a bookstore recently, and it's a secondhand bookstore, and they had these cute little pocket notebooks, and I've always wanted to try them from a sketchbook standpoint, but I didn't know if this lined paper would be any good for sketching and art journaling, but it turns out it really is. So today for me is day 2 of drawing and sketching in this teeny tiny field notebook, using it as an art journal, and I'm having so much fun because you can create quickly and try new things without worrying about ruining your art because it's so small. You could just turn the page and move on to the next. You also don't have to do anything super fancy. You can see this is just a simple drawing, and then I get into something a little more in depth, but I'm having so much fun playing with colors and patterns and different sort of art supplies that can be used in these field notebooks or pocket notebooks. What I'm going to do now is flip the camera over and show you the products that I'm using and how I'm exploring in these teeny tiny sketchbooks and layering my artwork. Because as I was working on this last night, I was just shocked at how much fun it was and how I sort of was quick to get out of my comfort zone, quick to try new things, and basically just the freedom that comes with creating in something small because you don't have that pressure of creating something huge or creating something that, you might ruin it because you made a mistake. If you make a mistake in these, you just turn the page over and start again. And you didn't even spend a whole lot of time on it because it's so small. So what I'm going to do now is flip the camera over and we are going to jump in on day 2 of the sketchbook challenge, the tiny sketch, tiny art challenge. And I hope you join me. This activity of tiny sketches, I am just using a teeny tiny notebook, but you can cut up paper if you want to cut up paper. I have one sketchbook dedicated to birds and one dedicated to faces. And I've been playing around to see what kind of art materials I can use on here. Because this paper is not meant for sketching, it's really thin and it's got sort of a sheen to it. I need to be mindful of what I'm putting on the paper. And at first I thought the colored pencil didn't work well, but what it turned out was the colored pencil doesn't work well if you color on top of the acrylic marker for this particular paper that I'm using, which is the Moleskine or Moleskine. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but for this particularly, what I've been doing, and it's so much fun, is I've been just grabbing my favorite colors of colored pencil, and I've been playing with just sort of coloring different spots in any shade that I want. I personally have enjoyed the Artex colored pencils as well as the Faber-Castell. I do have all the different kinds of colored pencils, but I find that these ones layer well and they actually blend pretty well together. I'm not really using any other colored pencils but those. And I just find with a small sketchbook, I can experiment more with my mark making and color exploration. And because you're limited to a really tiny page, you're just more, and because it's really sort of just thin paper, you don't really need this kind. You can get any brand you want. You're just more open to making mistakes and just turning the page and moving on. The other thing that I've been using is glitter. So once I add the color pencil marks that I like, which I did here, then I could break out my acrylic markers. Now I'm using a couple of different kinds of acrylic markers, including the Faber-Castell, which I'm really liking. I'm really enjoying these Enemy acrylic markers and how they perform on the paper. All I need to do is go on top of the colored pencil. And I'm not really paying, like I don't care if I'm going over what I've already done, but it helps me explore different shapes and patterns. And again, because it's such a small page, it doesn't matter if you make a mistake. I don't know, for some reason, I get all worked up if I make a mistake using, you know, a big piece of paper versus something tiny and possibly, you know, inexpensive. I'm in Canada. Both those books together were $7, which is kind of expensive, but I know I could go to the dollar store and get a teeny tiny sketchbook. So there's just a little mark making. And the other supplies I'm using are tempera paint sticks. Hold on. Craft Smart tempera paint sticks. I know there's a lot of different brands of tempera paint sticks. It just, look how well that goes right over the marker and the colored pencil, but you'd still kind of see it beneath. But keep in mind, once you add this tempera paint stick on top of the artwork, it's harder to add anything else on top of that unless it's acrylic paint. But one thing that I'm really enjoying adding to my artwork, and I'll show you with this lady here, I'm going to put like a little clip there. One thing I'm really enjoying is adding glitter. If you guys watch my channel, you know I'm totally into the glitterific glue. It's supposed to be like it's acrylic paint or whatever, but it's really just glitter glue. I have pink and gold glitterific. I also have, I'll show you one other thing that I'm going to show you in a minute. I also have this Winsor Newton gold ink, which I really like. And I'm going to show you how I use it. The only thing is that you have to let it dry. I don't want my pages kind of stuck together a little bit yesterday because I didn't let it dry. I'm going to put it on her cheeks. And I feel like this is a fun way to make your artwork pop a little bit. And it's like, it's a nice surprise element in your art journal. I've added pink and now I'm going to add some gold to it. And I'm just using the same brush. But I've really kind of liked adding the gold. I've added a lot of like what I consider to be jewelry to the ladies, but for her, I'll just do it on her shirt. A little gold. And it kind of makes the whole thing pop. Now, I'll move this over. The other thing that I discovered yesterday that I'm really loving, there's a couple of things, but it's that gold ink that I really have to shake up. But if you look, I added gold ink to, where is it? To this lady, her necklace, and these lines here, these little patterns. I add it to this lady's crown. And I'm going to now add it to, whoops, see it sticks together. Have to really let it dry before you close it. And as I let this dry, I usually start on to the next one, which is birds. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm going to add a little bit of gold ink to that. I think any gold ink will work. This is pretty good stuff, this Winsor Newton. And all I'm going to do is I dip my paintbrush in it and I stir it around a bit. It does have a bit of a smell to it, so if you're not into like scents, there's definitely a scent, and I think it's just because it's suspended in liquid. But anyway, let's add some fancy gold here. Tonight I'm going to be working on letters and writing words. I wonder if I should. The thing about this ink is you could, once it dries, you can go over it again with acrylic marker. Because I lost a bit of her eye there, like I covered it up a bit. But you can kind of see that glitter effect. These are things I'm not, like I love glitter, but these are some things like playing around that I'm not sure that I would have put it all together or have drawn so many faces if I didn't embark on this sort of 5-day tiny sketchbook journey. And I think I'm going to always have a tiny sketchbook now. Now I could add a little bit of gold to the birds. I don't want to add too much. But it looks really, really nice. And the final supply that I played with yesterday were these Neocolor 1s. A lot of people are focused on Neocolor 2s, but I'm actually finding that I'm really enjoying these Neocolor 1s. I have the metallic version of the Neocolor 1s, but it's just a great way to add some nice shadows and fun elements to your sketchbook. And again, I just feel like even though I love to draw loose, and I usually do, I feel like I've gotten more free with this activity. What I'm going to do now is just walk you through one of my drawings using these supplies that I just mentioned. For day 2, I'm going to set this aside and I'll be working on these sketches tonight, the day 2 tiny sketches of faces. And I'm just going to work on the birds and show you the process that I've been doing. It's going to evolve because the whole point of this activity is to evolve in your artwork and basically improve your artwork quickly, but without pressure. Someone asked me if I use reference photos. I don't really. I mean, I have the books that I like to refer to, and sometimes I'll look at Pinterest, but sometimes, especially for faces, I'm just going with the flow. And you can see how the colored pencil doesn't work very well. I mean, I need to let the acrylic markers dry, but I don't feel like it. So that's why I use my colored pencils at the bottom and then go on top with the acrylic markers. sometimes it's good to stop at a point and then review it later, like look at it later and decide, do I want to add anything more to it? I stopped this one last night knowing that I wanted to add more to it, but I also know that I'm not finished because I'm going to adjust her eyes. I know that I'm not finished this woman. I'm going to add some gold here. But before I continue, I have to let this one dry. I think that's the joy of maybe having a few of these on the go at once. Not only a different theme, this one is birds and this one is faces, but also because when you're letting one page dry, you can just quickly move on to the next. And it's a nice way to really explore patterns, textures, art supplies, all of it, all in a teeny tiny sketchbook that doesn't take up much room. So this is day 2. Yesterday was day 1 of this 5-day challenge. Again, you can follow along, leave a comment, let me know how it's going for you. I'm going to post again tomorrow for day 3, and we are going to complete 5 days together. I can't wait to read your comments on how it's going for you. Thank you so much for watching, and happy sketching.